Hello one and all, Chris from 6++ here and welcome to a Tactical Tips episode all about the Aeldari. For those of you who have been living under a rock in recent times, the Eldar are currently one of the strongest armies in the meta. And in this video, what I'm going to be doing is talking to you, the Aeldari players, about how you can pile further misery onto your opponents using 3 cheeky combos that you may not have spotted. Conversely, if you are one of those crazy folk who's not actually currently playing with the Aeldari, then this video might well help to open your eyes to how they can hurt you and maybe what you can do to stop them. So let's get going. At the beginning of the edition, the Wraith Knight was the big bad of 40k, and for 2 weeks he went around blowing everyone up and tabling them in 2 weeks. Obviously GW managed to realise what they had done was quite silly and changed that, so now we unfortunately have to look deeper into a, to be fair, incredibly powerful index. When we dig deeper, what we will find is the Wraith Guard, who are, to my mind, one of the strongest units in the index currently. And what I'd like to talk you through now is how to use them to their maximum potential. So, what do you need? Well, you need 10 Wraith Guard. Put 10 of these in and you will not regret it. Why are they good? Well, at base value, they're moving 6 inches, but they're T7, 2 up save, 3 wounds. They're pretty tanky, especially if you give them -1 to wound from a Footseer's Fortune power. In terms of output, they've got a Wraith Cannon, 18 inches, hitting on 4s, but we will fix that. Strength 14, -4, d6 damage, devastating wounds. Okay, so that's really, really powerful. We all love our devastating wounds, but we're going to make that much stronger because what we're going to do is we're going to attach a Spirit Seer to that unit. First of all, we give them +1 to hit. Okay, so we're now hitting on 3s. It also gives them lethal hits, which, you know, in certain situations is quite handy. Furthermore, he is enabling you to bring back a Wraith Guard every turn. That's right, not battle round, every turn, because it just says the command phase, not your command phase. So 2 Wraith Guard every turn brought back is pretty nice. And finally, we're going to give that Spirit Seer Fate's Messenger, which is an enhancement, and it enables you to turn any dice in the unit into, or a hit or a wound or a save roll, into a 6, having already rolled it. And that is really nice for those devastating wounds because it guarantees you at least 1d6 mortal wounds when you're shooting with this unit. So you're already seeing there's quite a tasty package here, all yours for 390 points. But there is a special ability of the Wraith Guard, which is what we're really going to focus on here, which is called War Construct. So this reads, once per battle round, and that is important to note, it is limited to once a battle round. When an enemy unit targets this unit, after that unit has finished making its attacks, this unit can shoot as if it were your shooting phase. So what does that mean? Well, that means your opponent's lined up some shots to go into your Wraith Guard. They are done shooting into your Wraith Guard. You can immediately go, right, well now I am going to shoot all of my Wraith Guard anywhere I like within 18 inches, because it doesn't say you have to shoot back at the same unit. That is really, really strong. But let's add a little bit on here, because actually on top of this it says, when doing so, this unit's ranged weapons have the pistol ability. What does that mean? That means that you can move your unit out, you can shoot and blow something up. You can then charge another unit. And hey, with 3 attacks each at strength 5, that's not too shabby either. Then once they've punched you, because they have targeted your unit, your guns suddenly become pistols and you can shoot them with your Wraith Cannons. That surely makes you one of the strongest combat units in the game. That is brutal. But wait, there is more. And I'd like to use an example. 2 of my teammates, Tom and Ed, played in the final of an event. Tom was on GSC, Ed was an Eldar. And what Ed did was he moved his unit out. He blew something up with his Wraith Cannons. He then charged out into another unit and punched them with 30 attacks, which then killed them. He was then able to consolidate into a 3rd unit. Those neophytes, prodded and poked the Wraithguard, who then went, "Oh, thank you for doing that and causing 0 damage. We're now going to shoot you with our Wraith Cannons." So, in the space of 1 turn, Ed was able to kill 3 different units with that ability. That is brutal. On top of that, you could be thinking about phantasming with this unit aggressively in your opponent's turn, especially if they haven't quite lined up enough shots. You could take the punishment, phantasm out 6 inches, and then make your move 6 inches. So you've got basically a 12-inch move there. So yeah, as a Wraithguard player, you really want to be thinking, how can I dominate this center? How can I use them? You know, there are very, very few units in the game that can one-shot Wraithguard. Okay, and remember, you're generating 1 back every turn, so you want to be using them to control the center, thinking, right, can I shoot 1 unit, charge another? Is there a possibility to maybe whittle down that charged unit so I can kill them, so then I can consolidate into a 3rd unit and shoot them? Lots and lots of potential there. Conversely, if you are against the Wraithguard, you really want to be thinking about when you're shooting them, stay outside of 18 inches if you can. And also don't give them the opportunity to charge and consolidate into other units. So you just want to be thinking about where they are setting up, where their threat angles are and ranges for their charges, and where they'll be able to consolidate to. So yeah, just something to be mindful of. But yeah, Wraithguard, unbelievably strong at the moment, and they would certainly be in any of my competitive lists that I'm going to take. But at the same time, I've got so many great options. You won't always see them, but you have been warned. Speaking of rather nasty units, let's talk about the Yncarne. So why is the Yncarne so powerful? Well, now in 10th edition, she can charge or heroically intervene the turn that she teleports. So that means you can use your Wraith Knight, D Cannons, Wraith Guard, Fire Prisms, whatever, to kill something in your opponent's deployment zone. The Yncarne then can teleport over in there and then chop something up. And then, hey, in your opponent's turn, maybe you can overwatch something to death and teleport her to safety again. So lots and lots of play about the Yncarne. And I just wanted to talk you through one particular way in which you can utilize the Yncarne, because she is rather nasty if used correctly. So what are you going to need? Well, you're going to need an Yncarne, and you're also going to need 1 CP. So let's say you've killed something in your opponent's deployment zone, and boom, the Yncarne has teleported over. Now, you spot that your opponent has got a unit which has got a really nasty character in. The Yncarne is really great at killing a lot of characters, especially the small and medium level characters, just because of its 5 attacks at d6 plus 1 damage, almost certainly wounding on 2s. So you're like, I want to kill that character, maybe you've drawn Assassinate, that sort of thing. So what you're going to do is you are going to charge in with the Yncarne into that unit. You're going to make sure you're in a position where you can see the opponent's character, and then you're going to use the Epic Challenge strat, which gives your attacks precision. Now, you're going to use those attacks to hopefully kill that character. And upon the death of that character, you can now teleport. Now, in 9th edition, you were only able to teleport if it enabled you to be within an inch of the dead unit. That restriction has now gone. I'll read you out the inevitable death rule. It says, once per phase, if this model is on the battlefield, when another unit is destroyed, just after removing the last model in the unit, you can remove this model from the battlefield and set it up again as close as possible to where that destroyed model was and not within engagement range of any enemy models. So there's no longer that restriction on being within an inch of the last dead model. However, note that we still have to be outside of engagement range. So you have killed this character. You're now going to teleport as close as possible to where that character was. But hey, it's got to be out of engagement range. What a shame. What does that mean? That means the enemy unit now cannot punch you back, which is quite nice. Obviously, they've now got their turn to try and kill you, but there's loads of ways that could not happen. Maybe you fortune the Yncarne, maybe you've kind of not stuck her straight in the heart of the enemy and you've kind of off to a flank somewhere. But I think this is a really sneaky way of trying to get an assassinate. or just dealing with some really strong buffing characters. So certainly something to be thinking of when you are using the Yncarne. Our final combo is all about movement, which obviously the Eldar are well known for being pretty strong at using. Now, this is based around a rule that has not, at the time of recording, been clarified. So, in 9th edition, when you deep struck down, you were not allowed to do something like fire and fade. Okay, that restriction has now gone. What that means is you can use a couple of your units to go incredibly far. We know movement's king. We know a lot of the cards are about taking objectives and trying to get to places. So you want those sort of units which can move really far to and not be too expensive to score you those cards. And Eldar have two fantastic units for that, which are namely the Shadow Spectres and the Warp Spiders. So, in my opinion, you need at least 2 of these kind of units in your army. I mean, I've kind of been running 2 or 3 Warp Spiders, 1 or 2 Shadow Spectres, and they are just so powerful. And here is why. So, first of all, Warp Spiders. They move 12 inches. But what we can do is we can flicker jump them, which means they are now going to move 24 inches. 24 inches on some boards will get you from deployment zone to deployment zone for something like behind enemy lines. That is awesome. However, let's say 24 inches isn't enough. Maybe you fancy going 36 inches. Well, why not? For the low cost of just 2 CP, you can fire and fade that unit, which means you're going to shoot them. Although remember, you don't actually have to shoot them. And then you can move them 12 inches. There's no rule on the stratagem which says you have to shoot your unit when you fire and fade. So that's given us a 36-inch move. Okay, that's going to get into any deployment zone, and that's just that is a thing of beauty. You could start your Warp Spiders in Deep Strike, drop them down, and then fire and fade them that way. 12 inches from Deep Strike, so 9 inches away from an opponent, and then another 12 inches. Maybe that's what you need to try and score you behind enemy lines or whatever it is. Then we've got the Shadow Spectres, which are the Forge World unit. So they're 20 points cheaper. They don't have flicker jump, but they probably do have. So they've got AP on their guns for shooting, and they've also got a built-in fire and fade called Shade of Twilight, which means that once they've shot, they can move 6 inches. So now we've got a unit for 80 points that can drop down 9 inches away in Deep Strike. Then they can shoot. Then they can move 6 inches. That might be enough to move onto an objective. That might be enough to score you behind enemy lines. Whatever. Maybe that's not enough. Maybe you then want to fire and fade them, because you absolutely can. Again, there's no restriction on that. You can just drop down 9, move 6, then make your normal move as well. So what we're seeing here is a huge amount of maneuverability from these two pretty cheap units, as well as the fact that they've actually got some quite nice shooting as well. So when you're trying to screen them out, as in you're against Eldar, you really got to be aware of the movement potential that these guys have. And as the Eldar player, get some of these in your list so that you can be scoring those cards. So there we have it, guys. 3 nasty Aeldari combos. If you know of any others or what's been working for you, pop it down in the comments. I'm playing Eldar for the time being, and I'm really enjoying them. So I'll be trying to do more content along these lines. So if you've enjoyed it, please consider giving us a like and a subscribe, and we will see you again very soon, I'm sure. Bye for now.